Hello for everyone. Today I'm going to speak about methodological aspects of translation. As we know, translation is the communication of the meaning of a source language text by means of an equivalent target language text. Translation is in effect an art both estimable and very difficult, and therefore is not the labor of portion of common minds. Translators should be practiced by those who are themselves capable of being actors when they see greater use in translating the works of others in their own works, and hold higher than their own glory the service that they render their counter. I want to speak about some basic concepts of translating. First of all, transferring is the ideas found in the first language into the second language is translation. This requires a sound knowledge of Ly and L2. And the second one is the minimal elementary requirement is the ability to read and comprehend a language called source language, from which the translation is made into the target language. The next one is the translator must know the different techniques involved in the art of translation. Translation has a crucial role to play in aiding and understanding of the world. The translator is a traveler engaged in a journey from one source to another. And etymology of translating is the word translation derives from the Latin translato, which itself comes from trans and ferro, together meaning to carry across or to bring across. The modern Romance language use words the translation derived from that source and from the alternative Latin traduco, to lead across. The ancient Greek term for translation is metaphrases, as speaking across has supplied English with metaphrase, and or word for word translation as contrasted with paraphrase or saying another words from phrases. If we will speak about metaphrase and paraphrase, strictly speaking, the concept of metaphrase of word-for-word translation is an imperfect concept because a given word in a given language often carries more than one meaning, and because a similar given meaning may often be represented in a given language by more than one word. Nevertheless, metaphrase and paraphrase may be useful as ideal concepts that mark the extremes in the spectrum of possible approaches to translation. What is the differences between translating and interpreting? Translation is used as a genetic term covering both written and spoken messages. However, translation means transferring one messages from language to another. Interpreting means transferring spoken messages. And if we talk about characteristic of good translation, a good translation is characterized by accuracy, logic, clarity, and formality. And it must be fulfill the function required by the text in source language, and must consider to whom the translation is meant for. If we will speak about good qualities of translators, they are: the first is a sophisticated understanding of a foreign language. The next is an understanding of the topic being translated. The next one is an ability to transfer ideas expressed in one language into an equally meaningful from the other language. And the next is an above average capacity to write well in a target language. And the next one is broad general knowledge. And the next, a sound knowledge of the two cultures involved. The next is mental alertness. And next one is sensitivity and attention to detail. An understanding of specialized terminology in the field of the translation is an important case of translating. And the next is training or experience, of course. I want to display you skills of translators. They are a very good knowledge of the language, written and spoken, from which is translating, for example, in the source from target language, and an excellent command of the language into which he translating. The next, I can say that familiarity with the subject matter of the text being translated. The next one is a profound understanding of the language, and the next, finally, tuned sense of when. Let's move to the translation process. The translation process may be stated as decoding the meaning of the source text and re-encoding the meaning in the target language. Behind this ostensibly simple procedure lies a complex cognitive operation to decode the meaning of the source text in its entirety. The translation must interpret and analyze all of the features of the text, a process that requires in-depth knowledge of the grammar, semantics, syntax, and so on, and of the source language, as well as the culture of its speakers. The translator needs the same in-depth knowledge to re-encode the meaning in the target language. Let's see the factors to take in consider for translation. First of all, I'm going to take about actual context, and the next, the rules of grammar of the two languages. The spelling is in the two languages, their writing conventions, meaning of idioms and phrases. The next is a document needs to be read, the documents need to be translated, the document is then edited, and the document is then proofread, not to mention retired and often reformatted. Sometimes research is also required for translation, and through knowledge of the native language is required by the translator. And let's speak about approach to translation. The main approach is formal equivalence. The next one is dynamic equivalence. Let's speak about formal equivalence. Formal equivalence implies word-for-word translation or literal translation, and dynamic equivalence also referred to the functional equivalence, implies the essential through expressed in a source text. It's not following a word-for-word translation, but changing or adding or subtracting from the original text to make it look as the translator sees fit. Let's move to the success sides of translation. I think for the success of translation there are 4 requirements are to be fulfilled. For example, making sense, displaying the spirit and manner of the original. And next, the translated document has a natural and easy form of expression. The translated document produces a similar response. Levels of translating. There are 4 levels of translating. They are textual level, referential level, cohesive level, and naturalness level. The 4 levels of translating, it involves the source text. At this level, you decode or render the syntactic structures of the source text into their corresponding structures in the target text. Translators tools, what they are? They are dictionaries. For example, if we talk about types of dictionary, you can use monolingual dictionaries or bilingual dictionaries or specialized dictionaries. And so you can use encyclopedias, computer and internet, electronic tools, for example, word processor or electronic dictionaries, and so on. Translation types, we can find 4 types of translation. It's literary translation or direct translation, artistic translation, machine translation, and mobile translation. Translation types, if we talk about translation types, there are some types of translation in my PPT. They are administrative translation, commercial translation, computer translation, economic translation, and financial translation, general translation, legal translation, and so on. If we talk about computer translation, it's not to be confused with CAT, computer-assisted translation, which refer to translation carried out by software. If we talk about economic translation, this translation is similar to commercial or business translation. If we talk about financial translation, it is the translation of text of a financial nature. Anything from banking to asset management to stocks and bonds could be covered. If we talk about general translation is the simplest of translations. General text meaning that the language used is not high level. And legal translation are one of the trickiest translation. It is simplest levels. It means the translation of legal documents such as contracts or treaties and so on. Let's move to the scientific translation. To this kind, maybe referred to medical translation and translation of scientific words in various fields of studies such as chemistry, physics, or mechanics. If we talk about technical translation, it has a broad meaning. It usually refers to the fields such as IT or manufacturing and deals with text such as manuals and instructions. Technical translation are usually more expensive than general translation as they contain a high amount of terminology that only a specialized translator could deal with. And I want to say there are now many software programs for translating natural languages. Several of them online, such as Anusaraka. It can be example for translating. Next one is AppTech or Asia Online. In Asia Online, it provides a custom machine translation. For example, engine building capabilities that they claim gives near human quality. Asia Online also provides tools to edit and create custom machine translation engines with their language studio side of products. Next one is Google Translate. It's a free online translator from Google. You know it about it. Am I right? If we talk about function of translation, the main function of translation is localization, globalization, and cultural interpretation. And the next is decreasing the language barrier. And the main function of translation, of course, is universal languages and opens the window of knowledge.